So hello from Green-Mopeds in London. So today we're going to look at something a little bit different. It's called a Super Soco RU. It's not a vehicle, it is more of an electrically assisted pedal cycle, but it is from Super Soco. So we're just going to run around it. We're putting it next to a CUX just to give you a sense of scale. They are not comparable at all, but just so you can see the size of it, and we'll run you through some of the features just so you understand how these bikes are different from vehicles, and hopefully that will help you make an informed decision. So let's get to it. So most people are aware of the Super Soco range, so that is typically a moped or motorcycle. So this is the CUX, which is their entry-level moped. Then they've got the sort of more maxi scooter, the CPX. Then they've got the sort of motorcycle-looking ones, which is the TC Max in the background there, that does 60 miles an hour. And then you've got the TSX and TC, which are 28-mile-an-hour bikes out of the box. They've also just announced some new models, which there isn't a timeline yet on them becoming to the UK. But they've also announced something called a CU Mini, which is essentially a smaller version of the CUX. But this is not a vehicle, so this falls into the category of EAPC. Okay. The reason it does that is because it has pedals, it can only do 15 miles an hour, and it's got a continuous power of 250, 300 watts, there or thereabouts. Okay, so those three things mean that you don't need insurance, or a number plate, or a helmet, or an MOT, or you don't need to take a CPT or anything like that. It's slightly confusing that it's got a space for a number plate on the back, which I would probably suggest you take off just to not confuse anybody. Sometimes the challenges of these bikes are that because they look like a moped, people will think they are, and they don't spot the pedals. Okay, so the pedals are the thing that give it away, essentially, that this is a bicycle, essentially, rather than a vehicle. Okay, one of the things to compare it to would be a electrically assisted push bike, so you know, big wheels and all those sorts of things. The difference between this and those are that they typically have the default mode of using them is to pedal, and then the motor helps you get up hills. Okay, on this bike the default mode of power is to use the motor, so it's got a throttle, and you use the pedals either if the battery's flat or you feel like pedaling. Okay, so it is different in that respect from a push bike. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty small. It only weighs 57 kilos. Only the Suron is lighter, which is saying something. This is 87 kilos or 80 kilos, so it's pretty light compared to a CUX even. They have managed to put into it disc brakes at the front, and at the back they've got a drum brake, okay, but disc brakes at the front. Part of the reason for the drum brake at the back is basically because of the other stuff that you've got going on down here. So it's got a hub motor, just like a CUX, but obviously a lot less power. And the chain obviously goes to the pedals, and the pedals are there obviously to power the back wheel if you're not using the motor. Okay, so the battery is fairly small and light. It's 48 volt 20 amp hour. If you compare that to a CUX, it's 60 volt 30 amp hour. Okay, there are other vehicles that even have a 48 volt battery in the NIU range particularly, but not 20 amp hours, usually them higher rated than that. But anyway, it's not meant to be a comparison to a vehicle, as I said. So there's a little charger with it. It has a 3 amp rating, so hopefully you can see that there, 3 amp rating, which basically means that this bike's going to charge in sort of 6 to 7 hours from flat. But obviously you can ride it without the battery if you wanted to. Here's the port where you charge it through. Interestingly, they have included a horn, which isn't that unusual. A Suron off-road bike has a horn, and that's not a vehicle either, but it's obviously, you know, just to help you be noticed. This little dashboard, if you can see that, so here you get miles an hour, trip and battery range. That is not full beam. There's only one option. It is on or off. Okay, so that's that little horn there. No ready mode, nothing like that, but there is a throttle. So if you just twist the throttle, you see that the pedals are spinning because obviously the rear wheel is spinning. Okay, so if you now pedal, you can see it's just going over 20 miles an hour. So that's obviously with no load. Okay, so it's not meant to do more than 15, and it probably won't if you try it on an actual road. Okay, so as I said, they're sort of an alternative to people who want to still be mobile, don't want a bicycle per se, don't want to pedal by default, but want something to get around on. Okay, so it could be, you know, we've had inquiries from delivery people because you could put a little top box on the back. There's no CBT required, obviously, because it's not a vehicle, and all those other good reasons. It comes in 5 colours, red, white, sort of an interesting sort of sky blue is one of them, a black, and I think it's an orange is the last choice. It's about £1,650. As I said, obviously no registration, nothing like that. And all in all, if you want something that you can just sort of scoot around on and you haven't got a license, so there's no real age limit on this bike, and you just want to get around and you don't want to pedal by default, but you might be able to pedal if you want to or have to, then this might be an option. So obviously you're welcome to come and have a look at it or have a ride on it. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to let us know. Thanks very much.